Alright everyone, Cowboy Trades here and welcome back to the channel for a quick update on ApeCoin. It's been a while since I've discussed this project, so I want to go through the lower time frames, higher time frames, talk about some price targets I see in the immediate short term, and then zoom out and discuss where I think ApeCoin is going in this bear market. So if we start off on the 1 hour time frame, there's a lot of bearish signals across the board right now. We'll dive into these a little bit later on. We've got hidden bearish divergences. We're sitting on the cusp of a collapse on a lot of Fibonacci levels. But coming over to the 1 hour time frame, you can see that we are forming this bearish pennant right now. And in the past couple of hours or so, we did have a mean liquidity grab pushing up to $4.38. Before I started to record this video, I was looking through a few different charts and this was up about 6% on the day, and it has wiped out almost all of those gains so far. So we did have a failed move, and as you can see, this failed move is already equaling a fast move in the opposite direction. We're sitting right on support at $4.16. If you do start seeing in the next 24 hours, 48 hours or so, us losing this level, it is looking like we are going to break down this bearish pennant, bear flag, whatever you want to call it, and look at it as. It has a price target all the way down here at $3.73, which from where we are at this moment in time is about an 11% drop. But here's where things get nasty. We're currently trading underneath the 1 hour EMA ribbons. If we come over to the 4 hour EMA ribbons, you can see with this most recent pump, we've retested the long-term moving average, and it looks like we are heading down from this. We've got a bearish engulfing candle on the 4 hour, also trading underneath the EMA ribbons. And if we zoom out even further, and come over, actually on the 4 hour time frame, I will also quickly just mention this before I forget, we do have a nasty bark pattern right here. You can see a parabolic run up, spiky top, very spiky, and now it looks like we're getting these signs that we're going to be coming down to the price target at $3.62. So you know, all in all, we've got a lot of confluence between around about 370 to 360, and now if we come and zoom out over to the daily time frame, you can see since the most recent lows that were placed in on the 14th of November, we are sitting right on the 618 Fibonacci. I'll remove these little tools here so you can see this. But we're right on the 618 Fibonacci. This is pretty much your last line in the sand. This 618 Fibonacci comes in at $4.09, technically 4.088. But if we start losing this level, it's going to look pretty ugly because bear in mind, like we just discussed, coming back over to the lower time frames on the 4 hour, you're trading beneath the EMA ribbons. These are getting tighter, indicative of a large move. We've got price targets down at 370 and 360 rather. And once again, this is going to carry us all the way back down to the 786 Fibonacci. So things are not looking too hot for ApeCoin right now. Of course, since we were making these higher lows and higher highs, we have broken this downtrend quite recently. About a week or so ago, we did flip bearish on the daily EMA ribbons, retested these. We're breaking down. High Kanashis are flipping bearish. The weekly candle bodies are flipping bearish as well. And we've also got the weekly High Kanashis flipping into a bearish trend right now. So a lot of signals that continuation is underway. If we do come over to, have we got any more charts on the daily? Yeah, just before we do dive into the weekly time frame, over on the daily time frame, while we're breaking down, while we've just discussed these price targets down at 370 and 360, how likely and how quickly can we come down to these levels? Well, if we look at daily oscillators, the stochastic RSI has just flipped bearish in the past day or so, and we are starting to head down. Both of these moving averages on average are sitting around about 77.5 with lots of room to move to the downside. You can see the last few times that the stochastic has topped out, these have correlated to some pretty big moves back down to the downside for ApeCoin. You can also see the MFI. The MFI is actually it's actually pretty oversold right now. We're all the way down at 33, and the squeeze momentum indicator is in bearish territory, but it is resetting momentum back to neutral, which is not a good sign. Price is going to the downside, but we're actually resetting momentum back up. So weekly time frame, why the daily MFI may not matter as much is because we've got still a lot of room to break down on the weekly time frame. And just ignore this divergence cheat sheet. We'll jump into this in just 1 second. Looking at the oscillators, stochastic RSI around about 37, a little bit more room to move to the downside. A lot of the time this comes down to 10 or 0, so bear in mind this can probably break down for another couple of weeks. The MFI, the amount of liquidity in the market, looking at the money flow index, is at 45 lots of room to move down. And the squeeze momentum indicator, since we put in this bottom in November time, the price has been grinding up and up and up, and this is telling us that we're only just starting to lose momentum in the higher time frame. So there is a lot of room for ApeCoin to continue with this breakdown. Now, as we're on the weekly oscillators, let's go over to the weekly time frame and see what this could mean for the price action. So I want to clear up these Fibonacci patterns that we were just drawing, clear up these price targets. Obviously, we just spoke about this upwards line of support quite recently being breaking to the downside. Weekly EMA ribbon, we've only got the short-term moving average that's loaded in so far, but we are trading beneath this as well. So we're trading underneath all of our EMA ribbons right now, and you can see that ApeCoin has put in a rounding top and we're breaking to the downside. Now, if we look at some key ranges that we've previously traded at for ApeCoin, you can see, you know, we had range lows over here. We had candle body closes on this as support. We had candle body closes here confirming this as resistance before breaking back down. And we also had touch points over here. You can see with this, you know, plethora of lows down here, this was flipped as resistance before we broke down into lower levels, and then we formed a new trading range. You can see we had lows over here, we got stopped out on the highs over here, tons of wicks confirming this as resistance. When we got above it, we tried to hold it as support on the candle bodies before breaking back down. We had a bunch of data traded in over here. We had a rejection from this range, so you can see the range lows were right here, and we retested these before breaking down into new lows. In the past couple of months or so, we've retested this range and broken lower, and we're coming back down into one of our final trading ranges. You can see tons of touch points on this area holding it as support, and we are breaking right down to the bottom of this trading range right now. So if we are looking at the daily time frame, you can see moving this down just a tiny bit to incorporate these wicks. We are sitting, you know, right in this range right now. We do not have lots of room to move to the downside before this major breakdown could happen. You can actually see the wick that we've quite recently bounced on. This comes into correlation with the bear flag around about 416. So definitely an important price target. If we start losing this, you're going to see some sizable drops in the market. Now, before we talk about things like the ApeCoin BTC pair, which are sitting right on their last 786 Fibonacci, let's come over to some divergences. Now, of course, if you know divergences, the higher the time frame and the longer it's been playing out, the more effective it is. We've got the same divergence on both of these charts. I do just want to show you over on the daily time frame. You can see that we are putting in hidden bearish divergence. And if we come over to the weekly time frame, this is the exact same divergence. This is the exact same trend line, but it is also coming into the weekly time frame. So I'll be focusing on the weekly for this one because, like I said, you know, the higher time frame, even though this is, you know, the same amount of time that has been traded, these are the same trend lines, divergence on the weekly time frame is more important than the daily time frame. So if you don't know divergences, I've got an educational series on my channel. If you do want to watch that, feel free to click on playlists, head over to the educational series. I do talk about, you know, how to understand divergences over on there. If we pull up the divergence cheat sheet, you can see this is what hidden bearish divergence is. Hidden bearish divergence is where you have tops in the price action preceded by lower highs, preceded by lower highs on a trend line. And you can also see the oscillator, it makes highs and higher highs, meaning even though the price is breaking to the downside, your oscillators like your RSI, it could be your MFI, these are becoming more overextended even though the price is breaking to the downside. So this is not a pretty trend right now. The RSI is currently sitting at 44 on the weekly with lots of room to move down, and as we've discussed, some other oscillators like the money flow index, which you could also draw this on, are even more overextended, up at 53, indicative that the difference between the RSI and the MFI, the reason why the MFI is much more overextended is because there's too much liquidity in this market, meaning there could be a lot of volume still to bleed out for ApeCoin before we do continue seeing this breakdown. If we do now clear up this divergence cheat sheet over here, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this, just focusing on the higher time frames, of course, we have lost this important Fibonacci level. The 786 has been lost up at $6.70. In terms of the volume profiles, you can see we are trading right here right now, and there's not a lot of volume beneath us before we start tapering off into the abyss. When you're trading in areas with not much volume, you can see very quick moves happen in the market. When you're trading in areas where there's plentiful volume, you can see you spend a very, very long time trading in these ranges. But as soon as you kind of start coming down and taking out these lows, there is nothing holding us up until an absolute, you know, rug beneath the $2.90 region. So if you are in ApeCoin, that is definitely something to keep your eyes on. We are really falling into an area right now where there's not much volume traded, and as you can see, the POC, the point of control, was up here at $5, and we've been having some pretty quick moves down as soon as we lost this point of control over here. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover for this video. I will also show you one final warning sign. Obviously, quite recently, we do have the Bitcoin dominance going up, meaning Bitcoin is heavily outperforming altcoins. I mean, look at this. In the past week, the dominance is up 5%. And on a lot of altcoins, like ApeCoin, is getting even worse than this. You can see ApeCoin has underperformed Bitcoin by 17.4% this week. And if we are looking at this double Fibonacci from the swing lows over on the Binance pair up to this swing high, and also up to this swing high, it's very interesting because both of these Fibonacci's have been pretty well respected. If you look at this one over here from this high, you can see we had wicks right on the 786 Fibonacci. We had wicks right on the 786 Fibonacci, and we are holding this level right now. And if we also look at the other one, just to show you that both of them are trading pretty well. You can see up here we had a ton of support held over on this 786 Fibonacci, and we had a lot of data traded around this 786. I personally think this one was respected a bit more, and really this is your last line in the sand for ApeCoin right now, the 0.0001689 level. Of course, you know, I don't expect you to remember that level. Just pull up this chart over on Binance. I'll keep you up to date if this does break down to the downside, if you guys do want more ApeCoin updates. But if we do lose this 786 Fibonacci for the ApeCoin BTC pair, then it is pretty much curtains. We're losing this uptrending line of support on the Ape BTC pair, as well as losing that uptrend right here on the Ape USD pair. So a lot of signals. Bearish divergences, which we've talked about. A lot of the oscillators are breaking down. Weekly timeframes telling us we've got a little bit more room to move down. Daily timeframes, some of these are saying we are only just starting the breakdown. We've of course lost some critical levels. We are trading right at the bottom of a very crucial range, around about $4.17. And of course, if we do come over to the 1 hour time frame, if you start breaking beneath $4.16, it's looking like you're going to have price targets in the immediate short term down at $3.72. And to keep things very simple, where do I think ApeCoin is going in this bear market? We've previously looked at a lot of Fibonacci pairs. Like I said, I haven't covered this in absolutely ages, but when we did, we looked at this 1.236 level down here at $2.50. We bounced just above this at $2.62. So higher time frame fibs are what I've got my eyes on. The next major fib is this 1.236, which is $1.72. I think that is the next macro bear market price target to keep your eyes on for ApeCoin. This is not for this week, this is not for tomorrow, this is not for today. This is something to keep your eyes on in the higher time frames. Another 59% drop, once again down to $1.72. In the lower time frames, my friends, keep your eyes on that $4.16. If we do break it, we could be coming all the way down to $3.73. For today, my friends, that's all I've got. If you do enjoy these updates, let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment. Share the videos with your friends, and if you want more of my posts, charts, memes, and economic data, come and follow me over on Twitter at 618_cowboy. I'll see you there. It's been your boy Cowboy Trades. I'm out. Peace.